Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and we're here today to talk about hype. I've talked about hype in the past, but I'm going to be completely honest. I feel like maybe I'll be doing a small disservice to you guys, because I'm always somebody who's like, you know, there's nothing wrong with being excited. You can be excited for video games. But I've never taken the time to really sit down, honestly, you know, absorb myself in the internet a little bit and separate the difference between someone who's excited for a game and someone who is hyping the game. Really, you know, hunt down the core of the issue with hype. A lot of people are just like, they're anti-hype, and to me that always also meant that you were saying you were anti-excitement, like people shouldn't be excited for a game. And I've always said to you guys, and you know that I've said this, that's a load of rubbish. If you want to be excited for something, be excited for it. But kind of clicked in my head over the last 2 weeks, like, okay, Tony, the reality is, I think, you know, people who are excited are just being grouped in with the people who are hyping things. That's not fair to the people who are being excited for things, because it's not the same as someone who is hyping something. So I've come up with some terminology. I spent about a week and a half, pretty much all of the time leading up to the leak of No Man's Sky, looking at forums, visiting the No Man's Sky subreddit, reading other YouTubers' YouTube comments, and of course reading my own YouTube comments. Admittedly, I don't spend a lot of time in those places. I don't really get to see how the internet actually treats or perceives hype, because I don't absorb myself in it. While I make content on the internet, and I watch a few channels on the internet, I'm the person who, I guess you could say, was smart enough to shut themselves out of most of the comment sections in videos, because it's not healthy places. They're not good places, so I don't spend time there. So I don't get to see what people are saying, really, outside of my own work. So I thought it was important, you know, going back about a week and a half ago, to sit down and really read some comments. It wasn't an easy thing to do, and man, did I want to just, whew, sometimes. But I did it nonetheless, because I really wanted to know what people were saying about No Man's Sky specifically. I thought this was a great point of research for what hype actually is. A lot of you may already know this, and maybe you're going to laugh at me and be like, Tony, how did you not know? But again, I don't really hang out with the randoms on the internet, man. I hang out with you cool people down in my comment section below. I hang out with my friends. I hang out in places where I know there are positive communities. There are very few of those locations on the internet, but that's where I go. I don't need to have any moment of my day filled with negative garbage. So for me, I didn't really fully understand how people treated hype, or how people employed the tool that people call hype. But I now know, and I've come up with two types of people. The person who can be excited for a game. And the reason that this person is not hyping that product, this is me by the way, is that they always look at the facts. They don't read between the lines. They don't lie to themselves or anyone else, essentially. When I talk about No Man's Sky in the channel, I'm basing it on factual information that we know about the game. I mean, what's the biggest thing I've ever said to you guys? Oh, you know, it'll be cool. People could be like a wildlife photographer in No Man's Sky. Yeah, you can totally do that. You know, I haven't spoken on anything that hasn't been 100% showcased to us. I've always set my expectations based on fact, which means that my expectations are grounded in reality, which is why over the, I can't even count the years anymore. Basically, since I've been playing video games, since I've been able to afford to take my paper route money and buy a magazine and read about a game before it released, going back to the days of the N64, I have been getting excited for games that have interested me. I read about them some more. Oh wow, that looks really cool. I'm definitely excited about this game. I employ that excitement. I talk with other people about it. I speak about what the game will actually do. We share our excitement with one another. And much like No Man's Sky, we get together, we have a midnight release party, and we play that game. And you know what? We don't end up disappointed, because our expectations were grounded in reality. That is the okay thing to do. I read about people who are like, oh, I don't get excited for video games anymore because I was disappointed by this, I was disappointed by that. In almost all those instances, that poison was disappointed because they became a hype monster. That's exactly what I'm going to call those people. That's group 2 guys. Those are the people behind the hype. They are people who have been succumbed by their own excitement to the point where that excitement is no longer excitement, it is lies. It's like a black goo. It's like that really bad you know, like symbiote suit from Spider-Man 2. It's like that, you know, they're choking themselves with it. And then here's the worst part, is that they take those lies they've developed, they pulled them out of thin air essentially. They've read between the lines so far to create something that doesn't actually exist. They then take that black goo and they shove it down other people's throats. They spread those lies. That is hype. I have found the source of hype. Like I said, a lot of you probably already knew this, but for me, it was a personal discovery, and I was like, holy crap, people really make shit up. Pardon my French, but that was the exact words I spoke to myself after spending a bit of time on the internet, some time on the No Man's Sky subreddit. The funny thing was, I was checking out the No Man's Sky subreddit before the leak. So when people told me the subreddit imploded after the leak, I was not at all surprised. I was like, well, if you read some of the things that those people were saying in that subreddit, you would fully understand why they imploded. You know, they had created this vision for No Man's Sky, this game that did not exist. You know, they had filled themselves with lies, and then they had spread those lies onto each other. It's crazy. It's the type of thing that I think a psychologist would, you know, spend money just to get to research. I don't know why people do that, and I don't think we will ever know. It is definitely a part of human nature. So I don't think you can actually stomp out the darkness that spawns hype monsters. Like, people will always make things up. Well, I don't know why, you know? Maybe the game didn't excite them enough. Maybe there was something that triggered them early on to hope that the game was so much more, and as they slowly realized it wasn't, they just started to fill in the blanks to make it the thing they wanted it to be. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a dude in a chair who plays PC games. Yeah, plays video games, I should say. You know, I don't know why people do that, but what I do know is that it is excessively unhealthy. So yeah, you know, you can consider Tony Mo well aboard the anti-hype train, but will I always remain excited about games? Damn right, you know? And there's nothing wrong with being excited. There's nothing wrong with that at all. You just have to be a real person. You have to base your expectations in reality. Look at the facts that are presented before you regarding the game that you're excited about. Don't read between the lines. Don't pull rabbits out of hats that don't exist, and you'll be all right. You won't be succumbed by the ooze of the hype monster. If you have someone someone like that in your life, don't just like nod your head and say okay. I think it's important that we shut people like that down to some extent. Like, don't let people spread lies. Maybe that's what we can do to prevent the hype, is we can stop people from just, you know, you can actually, because it's the internet. What am I saying? I'm just talking about it on a personal level. Like I said, I don't really spend too much time in the depths of the internet. So for me personally, if I knew someone who was just constantly lying to me, by the way, I'd be the wrong person to lie to. You guys know how I am about video games. I'm the guy who knows everything there is that you need to know. Lying to me would be the wrong thing to do. Yet, people have done that over the course of the last month with No Man's Sky. I'll give you a big example. The biggest thing that I saw across like the subreddit and forums and YouTube comments is there's a whole group of people who really want No Man's Sky to be a straight-up co-op experience. They want it bad. They can't get over the fact that No Man's Sky is more about that solidarity, and I think the game is very special in that manner. But if you do want to play co-op, there's a reason I made a video talking about, you know, outside world co-op. Nonetheless, these people want in-game co-op to be a legitimate thing. And I've saw at least 12 different posts by 12 different people who keep claiming that if No Man's Sky sells well, Sean Murray has stated in stone, he's written this by the way, it's a stone, he carved it out and then he filled it with his own blood, that they will introduce co-op and multiplayer if the game sells well. Yeah. I do remember the interview where he talked on the subject of multiplayer, and one of the things that he did say, the actual thing he said, I am paraphrasing here though, is we'll see how the game does. Maybe that's something we'll look at down the road. Sounds really different, right? But the hype monster, their ears, they've been adapted to perceive things in different ways. So you must be wary of the words that they re-speak to you on the internet. Of course, none of those people had factual clips from any of the interviews. Nonetheless, you should never take what a developer says in an interview with any real grain of salt. You know, you want to look at what the game is showcased, what they're talking about factually, what is going live with the game on day one, which is why I keep pushing away a lot of you guys who try and talk about mods with me. I'm sorry, but mods aren't there day one. I don't give a damn. You can't get caught up in what a developer is going to do 3-4 years from now, or 6 months from now, or 7 months from now. That's why Star Citizen is in the state that it's in right now. A whole lot of promises from a developer and head of the company that will probably never come true. And if they do, we'll all be dead and gone anyway, so it won't really matter. Now, the last thing I really want to talk about is, you know, there's a lot of reasons to not be a hype monster. You have a lot of tools at your disposal as a consumer this day and age. Like, there are so many resources where you can, you know, pretty much see exactly what the game's about. You can read information. Few games hide things from us anymore. You know, so like I said, you know, the real problem comes from people making things up. I know that No Man's Sky has an air of mystery to it, and that's okay, but you should leave it at that. Leave that mystery as mystery. Don't try and fill in those blanks, because you're going to guess wrong and you're going to end up disappointed. I know we still have to deal with things like vertical slices and cinematic trailers, and, you know, we can go on and on about the discussion of whether or not a publisher or developer is lying to us, but for the most part, that stuff doesn't happen. You should look at, when a trailer is a vertical slice, it's pretty obvious. Take it with a grain of salt. Cinematic trailers, again, take it with a grain of salt. You know, don't look at those as factual representations of the game. I feel like I shouldn't have to tell people this, but obviously we do, because the hype monsters, this is exactly how they look at these things. By the time a game gets ready to release, almost all of the games this day and age have concrete gameplay footage out for them. No Man's Sky is definitely seeming to be the exception. I'm not even sure when the embargo lifts for people's reviews, but it's not like you can't wait a couple days, you know? Like, the tools are just at our disposal. I don't think as a consumer that we are in, you know, we are on the weak side at all. We have the strength. We have the power. You just have to make those conscious decisions. You have to educate and inform yourself with fact. And you'll be okay. You will be 100% A-okay. It's a hell of a lot better, you know, than it was for me as a kid. I spent the money on my paper route. I went to Blockbuster. I rented a game with my brother. Oh, what's the next N64 Xbox game coming out? Let's grab a magazine and just look at some pictures. You know, there's no reason to disillusion yourself this day and age. You have the tools. Don't be a hype monster. It's not healthy. Your lungs are filled with black stuff, and no one likes when you spit black stuff into their lungs. It's not a good thing. It's just not a good thing. Thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to share your thoughts with me regarding hype versus excitement. I hope that you are very much someone who can be excited and set your expectations reasonably. If you know someone in your life who is a hype monster, be sure to get them help as quickly as possible. I'm pretty sure that the human body has trouble breathing with all of those black lies down in their lungs. I'll see you in the next one.